Hey, y'all, what's good? UW here to present the first ever segment of a show I'd like to call Comics Lunacy. Yes, Comics Lunacy. In this show, we will be discussing certain subjects that are talked about by comic book fandoms across the internet and so much more. And we'll be discussing how each of these subjects bring about completely ludicrous and asinine statements. Without further ado, what is the first topic? You see the title of this video, hopefully. I would very much hope so. And it is addressing really as a whole the video game downplay that a lot of comic book fanboys be bringing to the table. We will specifically be discussing God of War's good old Kratos versus Wonder Woman Diana Prince from the DC universe / multiverse. Now, this discussion stems from a conversation I have. I believe it was off of video done a few days ago, if not a week ago now, that dealt with Kratos in the Warhammer 40k universe. I believe it was off of that video. It may have been off of another one, off of a deathmatch, but I'm pretty confident it was off of that video. If not, either way, it's cool. Regardless, this downplay of video game characters is completely asinine. That I see this often. Too often, what people do not understand is that video game characters cannot be put to their full extent in the video game itself. God of War's creators, the initial creators, said that they couldn't have Kratos be moving at no speed of light for the game to be competitive, as well as the game to be believable. Like, it would not be fun. You couldn't have Kratos be using his full strength all the time. You couldn't have the puzzle game. You couldn't have the fighting game aspects, even though it wasn't a fighting game. You couldn't have the adventure aspects if Kratos is literally running across the place in a teleportation format. Like, it would be no fun as a game. So people will say, well, Kratos, I've never seen in the game where Kratos did this. He doesn't have the feats. He doesn't, compete. They've also downplayed the gods, the Olympian gods and the Titans that are present within the God of War series. Seth the Programmer did a video on Kratos being more powerful, being stronger than what you think. It was a very phenomenal video. I would advise you to check that out. As well as, the video I mentioned that dealt with Kratos in a possible Warhammer 40k scenario. Now you gotta understand this. I probably should have prefaced this. Kratos is my second favorite video game character of all time. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal character. Diana, if you saw my video, think a couple years back, is one of my all-time favorite female characters. Okay? I love both characters. I'm a fan of clearly both universes. So the facts will speak for themselves. I am not biased. I'm completely objective and neutral. I'm a fan of both characters. But even if I wasn't a fan of either character, the facts speak for themselves. Diana is strength-wise somewhere planetary, maybe a bit more. She's comparable to Superman Kal-El. Now, Clark, he's a powerhouse, without a question. But on a consistent range, a lot of people amp him, look at his high-end feats, but don't put him consistently at where he's at, strength-wise. He's a monster. He's on par with Diana. All right. At certain points, though, Diana has showcased that she gets harmed by piercing weapons, bullets and otherwise. Now, I'm not trying to downplay her. I'm just bringing out the evidence. Diana isn't as fast in combat as some people want to make her out to be. Superman Kal-El a lot of times don't fight that fast. We know this because of battles with guys like Doomsday. I'm not saying he can't, people say, well, Superman can fly this fast. That's travel speed. That's not a fight speed. Diana often doesn't fight that fast either. Okay. People act like Diana, like, oh, she battled this character and she battled this character. But she's also had a hard time against characters like Grail, who's the daughter of Darkseid, who's nice. Don't get me wrong. But she's not that nice. You feel me? Diana's not taking down Darkseid. That's just not what's happening. She's not a multiversal threat. Right? When you look at it, people bring up, well, Diana's, her sword can cut through anything on a subatomic level and things of that nature, right? They will look at her, well, she has bracelets to do all this deflection and such. She has an unbreakable lasso, which is all fine and dandy. She's a phenomenal fighter. She's got centuries, a millennia of experience. Okay. That's all very reasonable. Now, let's look at Kratos. Kratos, whose strength is ridiculous. Ridiculous. He's been comparable to Hercules. Now, they want to say that, well, these gods are not the same gods like that are present in the DC universe. Okay. I don't see evidence of that at all. At all. Hercules is the Heracles from Greek mythology. And if you know Heracles from Greek mythology, the dude was an absolute monster. At one point, he replaced Atlas for literally bearing the heavens. And he's not just talking about the weight of the world, it is the weight of the heavens. It's the same kind of feat that's used in Marvel Comics. We're talking about that Heracles. You're talking about, certain characters certain demigods who had got amps by the gods. Okay. Now let's see the facts that no one wants to bring up about Kratos. We know in order to defeat Ares, the god of war, he had to go into a god mode. He had to get a god power up to be able to take this man, this god down. Okay? It's just facts. He became his giant form and whatnot. Did anyone not play the end of God of War? No one wants to remember that. Okay. Does anybody remember that Kratos in God of War 2 got his power stripped by Zeus? His power stripped by Zeus. No, we don't want to talk about that. He was a full-fledged god. You say, well, Diana's beating gods. She's not as powerful as Zeus. That's just facts. That's just facts compared. All you have to do is look at the Injustice storyline. You can say, well, it's not canon. That's a different version. Is that Diana really that different from Earth 1, Earth 0, Earth Prime? It should be Earth 0, Earth Prime in a DC Rebirth. Is she really that different? Since when is Diana beating Zeus? You can say she beats Ares, fine. When she beating Zeus? I'll wait on that. This man, Kratos, has had weapons. He's got way more versatility. People say, well, they're not as good. He's got versatility, though. Blades of Olympus, formerly Blades of Chaos, Blades of Olympus are ridiculous. Right? He's got, in the past, he's had Athena's ability to turn you to stone. Right? He's had that. He's had a ridiculous armor. His stamina is ridiculous. His durability is ridiculous. His strength has been amped. Right? He was made a god. A god. Not just simply a demigod. He was made a god. God of War 4 talks about him possibly, keeping that ability. His blades being left alight. Alright. I mean, we're not talking about all the abilities he had. The freaking blade of Diana. Like, he's had so many different weapons you can call upon. You can just go check out his repertoire. He's had the power of Zeus with the lightning. He's had Hades' power. He's had Poseidon's power. Diana doesn't have those things, dude. She does not have them. She's not walking through Olympus, just wrecking fools. That's exactly what Kratos did. It's exactly what this man did. And a lot of times he beat them on some straight fatality Mortal Kombat style. You're sitting here trying to tell me that these gods, these versions are somehow way weaker than their DC counterparts or their Marvel counterparts? What evidence? What evidence are they so much weaker? Or is it that comic book fanboys refuse to acknowledge that the video games can't showcase the feats that comics do? Comics are allowed to showcase wild ass feats. Video games can't. I'm not trying to stretch this video on too long, but do the research, dog. It's lunatic out here to say some of these comic book characters just don't run through other characters. I could talk about Kirby and how ridiculous Kirby is. Even Mario's got feats, bro. Like, a lot of these characters got greater feats than what they're given credit for. Don't make me bring in some of these Mortal Kombat characters who seemingly shown to be regular fighters, but if you look at the lore, some of these Mortal Kombat characters are arguably universal threats. That's what Kratos is. He's a massively universal threat. He's on a much higher power level than cats in the Justice League, unless they're amped. It's not my fault. Just look at the facts of the matter. Just look at the facts of the matter. Look through his games, man. This man is constantly battling gods and amped demigods, as well as running through armies, which I've not seen Diana do. Not at all. Unexpected one, like, comment, subscribe, tell me your thoughts, and until next time, y'all have a beautiful day, beautiful night, peace. And the next episode of Comics Lunacy shall deal with the horrid concept known as prep time, which people use and abuse.